Hello survivors and welcome to another video. In this video we're going to be looking at Alpha, Elodie and Beta, who are the three newly released promo characters on the Promo 2.0 wheel. We'll look at Alpha first, and as a 5-star she is pretty low key, nothing special, very just kind of standard look, but when you upgrade her to a 6-star she gets that jacket, she gets that obviously attached weapon, so she looks a bit more formidable. When you look at her attack stat, it's 1495, 1923 defense and 1923 HP. Her trait is of course fast, and her role is a support character, which kind of fits in line with her stats. But when you look at her adrenaline rush, it's where it starts to conflict a little bit. It's called group motivation and it is 85 AP cost. Deal 725% damage to one enemy, up to 2 other teammates gain 100% AP. So obviously the second part of that is the support role, but she's got massive damage output. She's going to absolutely destroy one character, and that scales off of her attack stat, which is very, very low. So it's really a strange combination. I guess it doesn't matter too much in terms of you don't have to raise her attack. Her attack output is going to be very high anyway. But I don't know, it's just kind of strange in my opinion. It might have been better that she was a buffer or a healer, but I don't know how well that would have fit in to Alpha as an actual character from the comics. Now she has a very interesting active skill which can work very well with her adrenaline rush. It is a unique, it is AP drain. All other teammates and all enemies get minus 85 AP. So she resets the AP of everybody, including her own team. But you could potentially rush with your entire team first, then use this active skill, and it would only reset the enemy because all of your own team would already have 0 AP at that point. Well, some of them might actually have AP boosts on their rushes, like Brian for instance, but is most likely not going to be the case. And even if it was, it's mainly going to be beneficial because it's going to fully reset a defense team. Now obviously if you have someone like Tyrese, the next turn you can use Alpha's adrenaline rush, and Tyrese could potentially get that AP boost and just go from rushing one turn, then get the AP boost to rush a second turn. So he could potentially take out 2 lines in 2 turns. And for someone like Tyrese, that would actually be insane. Now looking at her specialist skill, it is Evasion. Whenever this character takes damage from an attack or rush, they will reduce the amount based on their current AP. Now I think Evasion for a 6-star is a 1.8 multiplier. I might be wrong with the multiplier, I'm not 100% certain. And you basically, whatever her current AP would be, you times that by the multiplier, which let's say it's 2, but I don't think it's 2. And that's the reduction on the damage that she would take. So if she had 40 AP, she would reduce it by 80 in that case. But I think it's 1.8, and I'm not going to try and do the maths. But if she was full AP, she could potentially reduce it by around 160. And on basic attacks, that can be actually pretty good. On rushes, it's not going to make too much of a difference, however. Now we go across to her weapon, and this is where she changes again. Very strange. She becomes much more defensive because of the 30% defense. She's got a medium bonus to AP when taking damage. That's obviously the upgrade slot. You can do what you want here. Probably AP on attack because her rush is so slow. When killed, minus 85 AP to all enemies. The thing is, she is an attack character in my mind, and defense teams right now don't have attacking characters, so she's rarely ever going to die unless you make her really weak, as in you could potentially just not upgrade her purposefully. But I don't see that as being a benefit. You're probably going to win raids quicker actually upgrading her. And like I said, defense teams are just really tanked out. They run, it's a revive meta right now. There are no like damage dealing attack teams. It's all about timeout. So you're either going to get timed out or you're going to flee just because you want to get onto the next battle quickly and you're being, you know, messed around a little bit. So I'm not really sure. I'm not really sold on Alpha, if I'm honest. She is a little bit fidgety in terms of like you've got to do a little bit too much for her. And generally when you buy a promo character, you want it to be straightforward. You want it to be make it easier. Whereas Alpha just can slightly complicate things. I think her potential is quite high because of the 100% AP boost. But it is random as well. It could go to a character that you just don't want it to go to. And the weapon just seems odd. I think it's going to bait people in with the weapon and the active skill however, because the minus 85 AP just seems really strong. But I don't think Alpha is as strong as she first appears, basically. Now we're going to look at Elodie, and as a 5-star, she is apparently like a chef. She's wearing an apron and she's got a knife. And when you upgrade her to a 6-star, it starts to get real. She tucks that apron in, And she gets a jacket, another one with a jacket. She does get an attached weapon as well. 1,501 attack, 1,796 defense, and 2,064 HP. So she's quite defensive as well. Trait is strong, and classified role is medic. Now we look at the rush, and it is very fast. 58 AP is classified fast, but within the 6-star world, this is basically as fast as it gets. Exhilarating cheer. Deal 350% damage to one enemy. All teammates regain up to 25% of their max HP, gain 25% bonus HP, and get 25% defense for 2 turns. Now, she doesn't seem that spectacular, but she does a bit of everything, and that can actually be pretty useful, especially on certain defense teams. In certain attack teams, based on the fact that her recharge rate of her rush is so quick, she wouldn't have to actually have AP boost on her weapon. She could just get it from the leader and she'd rush turn 3. That means you can make her really tanky, or you could add just bonus attack stat in there just to increase that damage output. I mean, it would be 100% down to you. She would work behind an Eric, for instance, on a defense team, where obviously there aren't that many blue or green characters that give bonus HP, so it is a nice little boost. And she'd just be doing a little bit of everything and just be a bit more of an annoyance. Now, we look at her active skill, and it is recover both Taunt and Confuse. I'm not sure of the power of this, just because that's done by focus, and in certain attack teams, like for instance, if you used her behind Alice, this would be kind of useless. Initial cooldown is 2, and up to 3 teammates recover from Taunt and Confuse. On defense teams, I guess this is more useful, but you'd have to hope that she wasn't one of the people who was confused and taunted, because obviously that's when her active skill could not be used. Her specialist skill is Hold the Line. I'm not fully sold on Hold the Line, but I guess it's better than having no specialist skill at all and having just a leader skill that you wouldn't use. But I don't think it's like super effective. It's just a nice little boost. I generally save the Hold the Line characters until last. If she had a revive and she was that fast, it'll be a bit problematic, because obviously she'd be picking teammates up and she'd be getting buffed in the meantime. But because she doesn't have a revive, you could probably just leave her to last. You can CC her for like 1 or 2 turns and take out the rest of her teammates, and you should be okay with that. Now, she has got an attached weapon, and it does make her a lot more tanky. 30% base HP, 15% defense slot, which is an upgrade slot. Like I said, you don't have to go for AP on attack here because her rush is already quite quick. Now, the third slot is an off trait special in being stun on defense, but stun on defense is not as powerful as it used to be, obviously. Once upon a time, the most dangerous shields were 100% going to be stun on defense shields. But I would say the most dangerous shields right now are probably absolute defense in Jesus, just because there's no way to bypass that. Their stun resist has made absolute defense much more powerful, because that was the only way you could bypass it before. Whereas now, stun resist actually makes attacking red shields not as much of a problem, so it's going to be exactly the same situation for Elodie, and a lot of people do run stun resist. Now, as a bonus, she has got a Naginata as her weapon, and it is one of my favorite weapons from Japanese history, 100%. I love the Naginata. I played Shogun Total War so much, and it was one of my favorite troop types in that game. 100% loved that one. So the last character is Beta, and this is him as a 5-star, and as you can see, he's just, again, kind of like Alpha, kind of basic as a 5-star, and when he gets to a 6-star, he gets the jacket again. It does seem like you just get a jacket and you become a 6-star. If only that worked. Just go on world map, try and get jackets and just put them on characters and make them 6 stars. And he has got an attached weapon as well. His base attack is 1,507, his defense is 1,669, and his HP is 2,207. His trait is Alert, and his role is Tank. Now, his adrenaline rush is 66 AP, so it is pretty fast, and it taunts up to 4 enemies for 1 turn. Those enemies also get minus 85% attack for 2 turns. This character and 1 teammate get pain split for 2 turns. So it does 0 damage, and it's just more of a controlling rush. It is quite fast, but it's not fast enough to actually happen without having AP on his weapon on an attack team, unless he gets attacked. And the pain split is kind of a put off for a lot of people, where they'll see that and just go, no, I don't want this character. Pain split can be very much a negative as much as it can be a positive. If anything, on a defense team where you try and have more tanks, it is a massive downside, because you can attack the weaker character and absolutely smash Beta in the process, who would generally be quite tanky. Now looking at his active skill, it is Taunt, and it taunts one enemy for 4 turns. And that is definitely the longest taunt I've ever seen. The longest anything in terms of taunt, stun. 4-turn taunt is insane, and that means you're just going to be able to 100% control a shield if you wanted to take this guy on an attack team. Basically, just be able to take a character out of the game, be it a shield, a revive, lots of control on this active skill, and a bit of a bonus control on his rush as well. His specialist skill is Indomitable. That means every time he's attacked, he gains an extra 30% defense. So he's just going to get tankier and tankier and tankier as he gets attacked. But obviously that's bypassable if he does get stunned. So you'd have to run stun resist if you did get this character. He has got an attached weapon as well, and we'll just take a quick look at that. 30% base defense, so that's just feeding into the tank role. 15% HP as the upgrade slot. You probably have to use AP on attack just based on the rush speed, unfortunately. And confuse, when being attacked, a better chance to confuse the enemy for 2 turns. Now the synergy between that 3rd slot, obviously that is an off trait, that's just completely like only for promos. The synergy between this 3rd slot and his rush, where it taunts 4 people for 1 turn, potentially he could then confuse some of those 4 people for 2 turns. So that is absolutely insane. I think that taunt overrides confuse, or at least whichever one happens first is what happens. So if he taunts someone with the active skill and he confuses them, they will still attack him because they're taunted to him. I'm pretty sure that's the way it works. So those are the 3 characters. I think out of the 3, it's hard to actually say which one's the best because I think they all have downsides. Beta's obviously pain split. Alpha's obviously, the weapon is kind of useless based on the fact that she's never going to die on an attack team. I think her rush active will be the biggest seller though, and it probably will work really well on attack teams. And Elodie, I think a lot of people will just be put off because she doesn't seem that spectacular, but I think she's actually pretty solid all round and she'll just be a nice little boost. But I think out of all these characters, Elodie's the most likely to become free to play in the future just because, like I say, she's not super spectacular, she's kind of just like decent. But that's the end of my video. Do tell me which one you like the most, and as always guys, keep on surviving guys, keep on surviving.